Hey guys, Zorgo here. Welcome to another YouTube video. Today we will do the tier list that I promised in the guide video. If you haven't checked it out yet, make sure to check it out. This is more like a follow-up video. In the other video I talk more about how to achieve quests and what to do to play to them. Same rules here. Like, quests in general are really hard to evaluate in power level because you have to always consider how easy or hard it is to get certain quests. So if a quest can come online 2 turns earlier than the other quest, obviously it gains more value, which is hard to calculate here. So I will do more about my own experience since I played a lot in the current patch, how easy or hard I will rank a certain quest. If you don't know me already, I'm Zorgo_HS, as you can see on the name tag here. And I'm currently rank 1, stream a lot on Twitch, and played a lot on the current patch. So I think I can share my knowledge with you. And following up to this video, I will do a hero tier list. So if you haven't subscribed yet, I would really appreciate a sub and like and comment. And tell me what you think about my tier list and how I went with it. Because there were a lot of things you could do. I decided to go for consistency and my own experience as my evaluation, because that's at the end of the day a tier list. So we will start with Parasol. I will rate it at A tier. Reasoning is it's easy to achieve and it gives you a quite solid effect for it. It gives you 8 HP at least to a minion. You should look to pick this quest up whenever you have units that you know you want to keep, and with Beast and Max it has strong synergy obviously for Baron Rivendare. Next we have Ghastly Mask, and Ghastly Mask is already harder to evaluate because it really depends what kind of card you get. You can get a card like Lightning Enforcer that has low game impact, or you can get a stronger card like Firebat in a non-Murloc lobby, and it can be a Wincon or Chalga on its own. The issue is Ghastly Mask is quite hard to do usually. So I would rate it in B tier just for that reason. It's not consistent. It's a quest you will pick up every now and then, but it's not a quest that you should always pick up because of the difficulty, and sometimes the reward is not worth it. If Murlocs are in, Firebat loses a lot of value, but Firebat is still as hard to gain in Murloc lobbies as in non-Murloc lobbies. So that makes Ghastly Mask on average not as strong, even though it can be sometimes really strong. Fun fact, Cthulhu can benefit from it as well, double. So picking up Cthulhu just to play Ghastly Mask can be a thing you can do in your games for fun, because whenever Cthulhu triggers the hero power, it will be double, and the second hero power will basically also scale the Cthulhu hero power, so you will scale double as fast and get double effect every turn. Can be quite snowball heavy, and you can just win on the back of it games. Next we talk about Wisdom Ball. A chat favorite. I think most of you guys would fit this quest here just for the fun. It's a really fun quest. But since we rate consistency, I would have to go with B tier as well here. Wisdom Ball is a fun quest. Has some strong synergies, especially with pirates. Like, Hogar builds can go quite crazy with Wisdom Ball just because you have a lot of rolls. It's a quest you should pick up whenever you have a game where you know you will be strong for a while. Like, you have a good start to the game, you play a hero that has tempo maybe, and you have a requirement that isn't too hard to achieve, then you can pick up Wisdom Ball, because it's the issue with Wisdom Ball is whenever you have to play for it, it's a hard to achieve quest. Like, the reward comes online quite late on average, and for that you don't get immediate value because you also have to spend gold to roll, spend gold to buy cards, which slows you down by a lot. So whenever you have a game where you have tempo or the requirement isn't too hard, you can look to build a door if you just want to have fun, which is also completely viable, obviously. Next we talk about Evil Twin. I would put it in B tier as well. Evil Twin is actually a weird one because it's sometimes insanely strong and has a lot of impact whenever you have scaling. But it also requires, it's a hard to achieve quest. Like, you have to usually do a lot of things to get it. Yeah, like, you don't get it. You get it online a bit earlier than Wisdom Ball on average, I would say, at least in my experience. And for that, you don't even get scaling. So sometimes it isn't even that strong since you have to play 6 units. I would pick Evil Twin whenever I know I have a triple lined up and I can hit it maybe passive. So I have a strong power spike turn where I can hit the 6-drop at the same time and hit Evil Twin basically 1 turn later. Or when I have strong scaling with cards like Tipper in the early game. So I know I have a unit that I can multiply if I have to. And the other 2 options aren't as good. And sometimes you can do really crazy things though with Evil Twin. So like you can play a Cleave and then you can duplicate it. It has high upsides, some downsides. Overall a solid quest, but not higher than B for me. Next we talk about Smoking Gun. And Smoking Gun is a clear S tier quest. It's one of the strongest quests in the game, especially with Max really powerful. Max Beast Elemental, you are Max Beast Demon, not Elemental. You are basically Deathwing on steroids. One thing you should look forward to do when you play this quest is to utilize it, play especially Max. Because cards like Menace, for example, give you +5 attack extra as well. Like if you pick up a Menace and you put it on your Deflector bot, you get a 8-1 buff, not a 3-1 buff. So you should look forward to play Max mainly with this, but it also obviously has strong synergy with Beasts and Demons because both have Death Rattle cards. You can also utilize this quest by just playing it for tempo in the early game and then playing something else. Smoking Gun is so strong, in my opinion, mainly because it's also not that hard to achieve, and you can utilize it in 2 different ways. Like first of all, you can stay on tier 3 or tier 4 and then just play a Deflector bot comms and roll for magnetic cards. Or just buy Death Rattle cards if you see you have to activate the quest and play that way. The other way is if you are ahead and you can proc this quest by leveling aggressive, because then you can just go to tier 6 and you will most likely not even lose a fight while doing that. So it basically opens up 2 ways of playing, and on average it's really hard to not finish at least second with Smoking and second to third. Like a lot of things have to go wrong for that to happen, which makes the quest really solid. Next, we talk about Alter Ego. Alter Ego is actually quite solid nowadays, I would say. I would still put it C tier, not higher than C. It gives you +7/7 on odd or even cards switches every turn. And it has strong synergy with 2 things. One is Demons, the other one is Mech. If both things are in and Murlocs are... Like if Demons are in and Murlocs are banned, I would consider this quest a bit more, like it gets way more tempting to pick it up because of Firebat and Ursul and shenanigans you can do. Since +7/7, eating a shop with +7/7 cards is quite good tempo, and same with Magnetics. If you hit the right turns, you can spike quite hard. The issue with both things, as you can see, is it's not that consistent, but it's not that hard to achieve, but it's also not as easy. Like Alter Ego is as easy or hard to achieve as Smoking Gun, for example. And if I have the option between Smoking Gun and Alter Ego, I would pick Alter Ego. I would pick Smoking Gun in a lot of situations where they have similar conditions. Next, we talk about Tiny Henchman. Tiny Henchman is one of the worst quests in the game. It's D tier, in my opinion. The reason it's so bad is mainly because of 2 things. First, it's really hard to achieve. Second, it's really impactless, especially the moment it comes online. You have to imagine you get this card on average on maybe 8 gold, maybe 9 gold, sometimes 7 gold, but then you have to really have strong synergy. And at that point, you are kind of searching for 4 drops usually. And the way this quest comes online early on is usually by having a lot of 1 to 2 drops. So you won't distribute the effect. Or you will level aggressive because you have set up like summons or something like that. And in that case, you're searching for 4 drops more than 3 drops. And even if you buy 3 drops, like let's say you buy a Deflector bot, jams to the Deflector bot, it's not, even then it's quite slow. It's only a bit stronger than Lightfang. It doesn't have immediate impact. It's difficult to achieve. It requires specific synergies. Like the issues don't end. Like this quest has really low impact. Or try to avoid it unless you have literally no better options. Next we talk about Red Hand, and it's another S tier quest. It's one of the strongest quests in the game. Together with Smoking Gun, Red Hand is my favorite to pick up, I would say. Like, I love to pick Red Hand. It's so strong, and I like the playstyle as well. Usually the quest comes online on 7 gold, sometimes 8 gold if you have hard conditions or you play a hero with 0 armor. But especially in lobbies where mechs are in, this quest shines. But even if mechs are not in, this quest is still good, because on 7 gold you can hold, let's say you play a hero like Cat, you can hold the card, and then the turn after you will have a plus 12 stuff, then you hold a Divine Shield card. And then all of a sudden, you have a 15-15 Divine Shield, then you buy another card, and then you hold it maybe 2 turns, and then you have a 30-30. It just goes quite crazy. Like, you don't need additional scaling sometimes, even with Red Hand, depending on what hero you play, obviously. Like, if you play a hero like Cat, you can just wait that people die. If you play a mech hero, if mechs are in, you can just buff your deflector bots. Red Hand has a lot of uses and little downsides, honestly. It's easy to achieve and it gives you immediate tempo. Especially if you play have a quest condition that procs in combat. It gains extra value even. That's the beauty of Red Hand. Like, if you have a quest that requires you 20 minions to die, you can sometimes just hold the card in hand and basically proc the quest in combat. And synergies like that are also really cool with Red Hand. Rafam has some synergy as well with it, but Rafam has probably harder conditions on Red Hand. I never had a Rafam Red Hand game, but I picked it on Panda when I played Red Hand with Rafam, so I remember that one time I hit Mackerel. That was a great experience. Next we talk about Mirror Shield. I would say it's a A-tier quest. It's quite strong, solid. Gives you some tempo, gives you Divine Shields, utility. Not that hard to achieve. One issue with this quest, personally, when Murlocs are in, it's so obnoxious. Especially when Beast and Mechs are banned, because then you don't have Death Ratchet cards, and then it's so hard to beat Divine Shield and Murlocs. So you should look for Divine Shield. You should look for Murloc Tribe, especially in Beast Mech lobbies. It might be worth it to pick up over some other quests when Beast Mechs are banned and Murlocs are in with Mirror Shield. I hope the quest gets nerfed either by making the requirement harder in Murloc lobbies or banning it straight up from Murloc lobbies. It's a bit too obnoxious to play against, I think, but it's a solid quest overall. It has also good synergy with Quill Wars, with Jam Splitter, for example. Next, we talk about Victim Specter. Another one I like to play a lot. I would put it actually a bit above Mirror Shield. The reason is Victim Specter, especially on high tier armor tier heroes, can be a win con in its own, and it's crazy how hard it can snowball. Let's say Mukla is a good example for it, because I saw it on him. When Mukla has 10 armor, one requirement for Victim Specter was like play 4 elementals or Quill Wars. That's a quest you can finish in 1 to 2 turns. So you on 7 gold, you can already activate that quest, and then you can basically just play duplicates till you hit like tier 4 to tier 5, and then you can hit the 5 to 6 drop, and then you just copy the 5 to 6 drop, and then you can snowball crazy with it. And since you play an armor hero, you can basically bleed a bit more on HP. Another cool thing you can do with this quest is a bug that is, I think it's a bug, I'm not sure if it's intended, but it's so long in the game, I feel like I start to think it's intended. When you play cards like Imprisoner or Red Pack, the golden version, the token you get from it will be a normal looking 2/2 or a normal looking 2/2 imp or 2/2 red, but it will actually give you a discover. And that's another thing that makes the quest a lot stronger, because obviously if you can pair game an Imprisoner early game and then you triple into a 3-drop maybe just to proc your Victim Specter a bit earlier, which is completely viable as well, a viable thing to do, then you will end up with a Victim Specter that will just keep spawning triples for you, since you can just put it with an Imprisoner that keeps spawning triples for you because you just put it last. So there's some nasty things you can do with Victim Specter. It's really snowball heavy, especially on high armor tiers heroes. It's really good. Next we have Anima Bribe, another cool quest. I would put it on, by the way, this is ordered. So I always order the quest in the power level I think they are. Anima Bribe, I would say, is weaker than Smoking Gun and Red Hand because it's harder to achieve and therefore a bit more risky. That's what Red Hand and Smoking Gun makes what they are so good for, because they come online quite fast. Anima Bribe is really good with max beasts. In general, you can make big deflectors, you can make big Hydra. One funny thing a viewer told me is on Warden you can actually make the copied minion, make the minion big and then copy it, and then the copy will also be big because it's a copy, which makes sense, but I think it's a cool thing to know. Like, you can make a 30-30 Hydra and then copy that 30-30 Hydra, and then you could technically buy the whole shop again and buff the Hydra again, and then just keep buffing it till you die or till you get away with it, I guess. So that's a cool synergy that you can look for in your games, that I will also search for now. Next, we talk about Menagerie Mayhem. And Menagerie Mayhem is honestly, power level wise, if you get it early online, actually really strong. It's like S tier even. But the issue the quest suffers from, and that's why it's C tier, is it's really difficult to achieve. The difficulty of achieving Menagerie Mayhem is as hard as Anima Bribe, I would say. And Anima Bribe is really hard to achieve already. Like, it's Anima Bribe and Wisdom Ball, they're almost the same in difficulty, at least in my experience. So for that, Menagerie Mayhem quite weak, and that's why it's in C tier. What makes the quest overall have a lot of potential is you can run duplicates. Like, if you run 2 Deflector bots, for example, both get the buff. If you run 2 Hydras, both get buffed. If you run Theodore in your comp, Theodore gets buffed. If you run Selfless, it gets buffed. So the point is that the support units that you have, or the duplicates that you have, also get the buffs, and you don't have to sell them, which gives Menagerie Mayhem a lot of value. Next, we talk about the Discover quest. Since it's bugged, I will not rate it. They removed it currently from the game. It was a quest that has a condition. Let's say play 3 elementals, and then you could hit it you could hit it as often as you want, which was quite cool. I hope they bring it back. The animation timing was a problem, but it was a fun to play quest. Next we have Snicker Snack, and that's actually hard to evaluate. I would put it here in A tier at the bottom of it, or start of B tier even. Yeah, I think I like that. Oh wait, start of B tier. It's a decent quest, has some nice synergies, comes online relatively fast, I would say, but the issue is it's 6 gold usually, unless you play Bran exactly. You don't know if you will have a Bran game at all, which makes Snicker Snack value a bit less, because you don't know if you have quality Battlecries at that point that you want to trigger, or if you will play a different strategy, which makes it less flexible overall and makes you force the direction too much, and that's what I don't like about Snicker Snack on average. It's quite strong with Murlocs, especially if you hit Bran. It has some anti-synergy with cards like Smogger for it though, because Smogger can buff it himself, which you usually don't want. Next we talk about Ritual Dagger, and Ritual Dagger is actually an interesting story, I can tell you. It's one quest that is rated as one of the best quests in the game. Like, some players are really vocal about it, and I never picked it up. Like, I have like 120 hours, and the amount of times where I picked up Ritual Dagger is like 1. I picked it literally only once so far. The reason is I usually don't have, my playstyle is usually that I either stay on tier 1 and hold cards in my hand, or play Warrior Curve, or play Jeeve Curve, or just go 3-on-3. I rarely play games that are standard curve, and if I do, I don't end up with death threats. I usually go for synergies like Roadbore, Tough Tusk, or I go for synergies like Nether Drake and Whelp Smuggler. So I really rarely end up in a situation where I have death threat cards already on board or see them on 6 gold. And that's why I never pick Ritual Dagger. Zoran, for example, I contacted him, asked him about his opinion because he was really vocal, why he thinks that quest is so good. And he told me that he likes to stay on like when you have some death threats, especially when demons and mechs are in, and beasts also help because of Macau. You can stay on tier 2 for a long time, look for cards like Trickster, Selfless, Kaboombot, and make them really big. And then at some point you level to tier 5 and look for cards like Manti, Queen, Baron. And that's a really strong comp. He showed me a video of it as well. It's also on YouTube. I will link it in the description. Quite interesting. Looks for sure solid, and it's also a good quest to gain MMR. I didn't play it enough to rate it higher, so I just put it in the middle of the list. I think it's fitting still for that reason. Next we have Pilfer Lamps. That's a hard quest to evaluate because it's really strong, but it's also really hard to get without dying at least. I would put it still A tier. I think the impact is great enough to put it A tier, that you can basically even sacrifice your game plan a bit around it. But sometimes the thing is you get baited to play too much into it, and then it can cost you too much. I also got baited sometimes that I thought, oh, this is actually not that hard to achieve. Then I stay on tier 3 for a long time. And then I noticed I bleed so much damage that even if I finish the quest, all of a sudden I have to stay on tier 3 and triple into 4 drops, and then I don't find scaling, and then I level to tier 4, and then I try to find 5 drops at scale. So even if it's active, I don't do much. And that's a danger with this card. I think it's a good quest, but you also have to be disciplined about it. You have to know your windows where you can pick it and where you can't pick it. But it's so hard to achieve that most of the times, me included, I just pick the quest when I get it offered. Unless it's really hard to achieve, like 110 gold or something that you have to spend. Next we talk about Staff. And Staff, it's hard to evaluate what is worse. Is Tiny Henchman worse or Staff of Origination? I would say Staff of Origination is a bit better than Tiny Henchman, because even though it's hard to achieve, at least it offers you value. If you play a poison comp, it can give you like 12 on your Selfless, not that bad. The issue is Staff of Origination was completely fine beforehand, but then it got nerfed twice because of low MMR, and that hurts the quest a lot. So that's why I would put it in D tier currently. Next we talk about Stolen Gold. And for a lot of people, I would say Stolen Gold is the best quest in the game, and they ask for nerfs left and right. For me personally, it's more here. I would say it's the third best quest. At least from the ones currently that we see, that we rated. And the reason is, it's really strong with beasts. Yes. Like with beasts, I think it shouldn't be legal. Like it should be harder to achieve or something like that. Because the issue with beasts is, you can run cards like Bird Buddy, for example, in the early game when you hit Stolen Gold, just to win your fights. Then at some point you level to tier 5, or you triple into a Mama Bear or a Croc. Then all of a sudden you have a golden Mama Bear, and then you find a Baron at any point of the game, and it's really impossible to beat you. You have a Leaper. Leapfrogger also really strong with mechs, and Dranks also have some synergy with Tarek. But I wouldn't say Dranks are problematic with it. Dranks feel completely fine with it. Currently, I would say, not game breaking. But especially mechs and Beast with Baron builds, really oppressive. And it's really easy to achieve as well, I would say. Like the moment it comes online, it's almost always relevant. But it's not always relevant. That's why I would put it as the third best. Like I also had situations where I didn't have good cards to make golden, and then I would have been better off picking Red Hand. So it's hard. But Stolen Gold probably needs to be nerfed at least in Beast lobbies, in my opinion. Next we talk about Teal, Tiger, Sapphire, and it's a C tier quest. It's really good with demons when Murlocs are out, because you can have strong synergy with Firebat, and with mechs it's okay. But other than that, nothing too special, a bit too hard to achieve, and there's not much more to say about it, I would say. Next we talk about the Devil in the Detail. Fun fact, one of my favorites at the beginning. I like this quest a lot, but then at some point I notice it's not that good. I guess Overseer being nerfed also hurts this quest a bit. Because beforehand, with Overseer, I always like to pick it up. I felt like it's quite solid. But nowadays it feels not that impactful. I would put it like here. Like either here or here. Like it's not that special. I would even put it here. Probably even here, honestly. Like the alter ego isn't that bad. It is quite slow. Sometimes you eat triples. It's not that easy to achieve for what it gives you. You have to buff the left and right menu, which can be awkward too sometimes. So it's not that good, I would say. And let's move on. A friend of a friend. This quest is tricky to evaluate. I would put it A tier still. It's quite good. Like 2 random cards is always good. The issue is the tribes that you get. Like some tribes are superior to others. For example, if you get Murlocs are a class that either gives you economy or gives you poison. And both things are usually quite good, no matter what game state you are in. Another class is Quilver. Quilver gives you gems, or it gives you a direction. Especially early on, it gives you a lot of tempo if you hit cards like Bonker, Shaker, Dynamic Duo. So I would say the quality of the tribe depends. Elemental is also really good, and some classes like Beast Max have less value because they rely on high rolls and combo cards, and there are a lot of breaks as well. So I would put Friend of a Friend still on A tier, but at the bottom of it actually. Next we talk about the Yoxaron wheel. Another one that is hard to evaluate. I would put it actually here. Actually, even here, yeah. This seems more right. It's quite fun to do it. It can be solid. The issue is it comes online so late sometimes, and the control over it is hard. And sometimes it can even mess your game up a bit. If you hit, for example, the shuffle option without having 7 strong units, your Deflector What can all of a sudden be a 3-2, and your Baron Riven there, or like a 5-5, I don't know. And the Baron Riven there is all of a sudden a 30-30, which can be good, but sometimes it's not. Or your Kangor. So I would say the wheel of Yoxaron really fun. I would recommend picking it up. But it's not that consistent as a quest, unfortunately. Next we talk about Cookbook. This is a quest that I actually underrated at the beginning. I thought this is really slow and not worth to pick up, and I would put it probably C tier. Nowadays, I love it. Cookbook is really fun to play. Has really strong synergies, especially with Max. Like Max makes this quest so strong. Because imagine you pick up a module and then you pick up a random mech, and you have like Cookbook on 19 or 20, you will have all of a sudden like plus 40 on your module mech, which makes like a 50-50 Divine Shield. Same with Deflector Watts if you pick up Wargears or Menace. So it's really snowball heavy, especially if like mechs, elementals and pirate signs. Those are like the economy tribes that you look for. Hogar is really strong with it as well. With Cookbook, you can just snowball Deflector comms so hard. It's so fun. The only downside is that it's a bit slow. You can die in the process. Sometimes you will be a bit slow and not finish it. But if you pick it in the right circumstances, the consistency will give you a top 1 or top 2 most of the times if you play your spot correct and pick it in the right spots, I would say. Next we talk about Sinstone. And for Sinstone we have to create a new category actually. Add or both. Okay. Because the quest is unfortunately a bit too good. So I would say this quest is S+. Because currently not every hero can hit this quest. Only these heroes that can discover. They didn't specify it. But basically it's heroes like Elise, Zephyrs, Queen Ashara that can hit it. Zephyrs is a bit weird. Not every hero can hit this quest. Silas can hit it as well, as far as I know. Alexstrasza as well. And my problem is the effect is way too strong for the things you have to do to get this quest. Like the Sinstone is from the power level here from the power level, harder, way stronger than, let's say, Anima Bribe. Like, it's not even close. It's probably like double to triple impactful in most cases. But the requirement is basically the same as Anima Bribe. Especially since Stone becomes really problematic. Like, it's really strong overall in general, but it's really problematic in Naga lobbies, because in Naga lobbies there's one 6-drop that can discover cards, and that's Orgotzora. Let's imagine following case. You finish Sinstone and you triple into a 6-drop, and the 6-drop is Orgotzora. That Orgotzora will give you 2 Orgotzoras. Those 2 Orgotzoras will give you 4 Nagas, 2 of the same. Let's say you add the Naga in the shop. That Naga, you can just literally triple into another Orgotzora, into an Artiza, or into a random 6-drop. Like, it goes so fast out of control. And you basically can play an APM game out of it, honestly, where you just start discovering cards. It's way too strong currently, and I hope they nerf the quest in requirement and keep the reward like it is, or make it accessible for every hero. I don't see a problem with that, honestly. Like, my issue is, like, some heroes can hit it, and it's way too easy in Naga lobbies. Especially, it should be banned in Naga lobbies, in my opinion, or at least be way harder to do. That would be really appreciated. And last but not least, we talk about the buddy quest. Oh wait. I don't even know how you call the quest. Basically, it's that you get your golden buddy. It's a secret Easter egg quest. Really cool idea. They didn't reveal this for like 2 weeks. The conditions that have to be met to get the buddy lobby are also hard. There has to be no new hero, no hero that doesn't have a buddy, basically, and Elise. And then there's a 1% chance that the whole lobby gets offered a golden buddy. I played actually one buddy lobby so far in my life. It was with Omu. And my experience was actually quite bad, because my Omu requirement was really hard for me to do in that lobby. I had to, like, 25 minions that had to die, and I couldn't finish it till like 8 gold or 9 gold, and then it was already useless, because on Omu, the later you get the buddy, the worse it gets. And I thought, but my lobby was also a bit unfortunate, because I played like Cthulhu on 8 gold that had the quest finished. They dealt 15 damage to me. Then I played a Gallywix and Maeve in the lobby that also finished the buddy. It gets really snowbally, and it's hard to compete with anything with buddies overall, especially if you have a hero that has a bad buddy. So this quest, I would say, makes the lobby quite RNG heavy, which is fun. So I would put it, honestly, I will just put it in S+ tier, just for the experience that you can play the buddy. It's a unique experience that it gives you. It's a cool Easter egg, I think, as well. And even though the lobby gets quite coin flippy, you'll still have a great time, most likely, in the lobby, unless you play a hero that has a bad buddy. But then you will still be like, at least I got lucky, I got a 1% outcome. You don't have that every day, right? So it's a win-win situation. I hope you enjoyed the list. If you did, make sure to subscribe, commentate the video. Tell me what you think about the list. How do you look at it? Do you have other quests that are your favorite? And see you next time.